welcome again to Let's Talk Ed. I already did the drums the last time, right? So do I need to do the drum introduction? Maybe it will become a thing we do every time now, right? Before we start our show. So welcome. Well, today we're gonna be talking about, how do I even start this? I know we started off with first intro. Today I think it's gonna take a little bit of a serious thing, but again, that's what we wanna do since we wanna help students. So today's topic, did I already say hello, welcome, and all that?
I don't know, did you welcome me again?
Welcome, Sarah. Sarah, thanks. It's a beautiful Thursday, cold, hot. I don't know what is happening, but welcome again to Let's Talk Ed. Still gonna do what we do best, provide information to help you all experience college and not survive college. All right, welcome again, Sarah. Today's topic is going to be about challenges and fears that students have, but we're gonna start with ourselves.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start with you, Sarah. What is the biggest challenge you faced while in college?
I think, when you go and you have this idea of, I'm going to do this, right?
Okay.
Or maybe you don't, right? Because you want to
Right.
figure it out. But I was very much, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a pharmacist. And I was like taking all the science classes, and I maybe wasn't doing the best, right? It was my freshman year. I went very hard with the classes and, what ones I picked, and I had a very heavy schedule. And so I think that my biggest challenge was knowing that it's okay to take time to figure it out and to pivot.
Okay.
So I realized pharmacy maybe wasn't the thing for me, right?
Okay.
Chemistry was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And so I think that was my biggest challenge that I had, is that I really just had to trust myself to say, hey, this isn't the right course. Right. You need to do something else, and then kind of go from there.
Okay. So I'm gonna digress a little bit, but I come back to that topic. I know I got a feedback the last time as to what is our background and where are we. It is intentional that I'm not sharing that background, because I do want everybody to understand that everything we share here is our opinions, right? We're not representing anybody, any institution, or anything like that. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. My challenge is right there with you. It's always been with the academics. Mine was a little different because I knew what it is that I wanted to do. Unfortunately, the college that I went to, also small, like it was a small liberal arts school, didn't really have an engineering program. But they started. I was basically the guinea pig of that whole project, right? So it was juggling two different programs, do engineering, and then it was supposed to be a 3-2 program, and then I'll go somewhere else to finish it up. So that was my biggest challenge, and it wasn't just me, it was just people not sure as to where the program was going and all that. So yes, that I think was my biggest challenge, and we'll probably come back to this a little more in detail. Okay, what was your greatest fear?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I think it was even just going, right? And it wasn't, I knew I was going to go to college, like we talked about last time. I didn't have a choice, right? And so I just knew I was going to go.
Right.
But I remember the feeling to this day, and it's been a long time since I was in college, of getting off of the exit. And I can remember that exact moment and how I felt like I was going to be sick, right? Because you're leaving your home where you grew up, right? Most of your life, and your family, your circle of people that love you and are there for you. And then you're all of a sudden on your own, right? And things that maybe you took for granted, like meals and laundry and money, now you're that person, right? You're responsible for yourself, and you have to make yourself go to classes. No one's going to come into your room and say, time to get up, get ready for school. You're that person. Right. So I think that was my biggest fear, was just getting there, right? And then obviously, I think a lot of people's fears, and I'm sure I felt it at some point, was failing, right? Because chemistry wasn't my thing. And I never got C's before, right? And then all of a sudden I got a C my freshman year and I was like, what's happening, right? And so I think, overcoming that fear really makes you stronger. And then you know who you are, and maybe even it helped me figure out my direction of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do.
Right. So it's gonna sound like I'm doing a lot of disclaimers this morning, but right on point. And I do also want people to know that we do talk about the topics that we're going to be talking about, but we don't rehearse whatsoever.
Oh, right.
Because what I'm about to say is right on point as to what you just said. Leaving home, which in my case was 6,000 miles away.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So right there with you, coming here to the States, trying to figure that out. My fear, I think, stemmed more from, oh boy, if I ever fail my classes, all this money that my parents have, talk about flights, tuition and everything. Yes, I was getting some financial aid, but that was right up with, I cannot fail a class, I cannot lose my financial aid. In my situation, also if I want academic probation, it's 6,000 miles back. Right. It wasn't like, oh, go stay in Louisiana, stay here, right? So it's right on point that, yes, absolutely, that was my biggest fear, just to make sure that I didn't fail my class to get on an academic probation or suspension. I did say we're gonna put David on the spot here, so this is the time to do that. Yes, it's all right. I'm gonna repeat everything you say, so don't worry. What's your biggest challenge now? So for those of you who don't know, our amazing video guy behind the scenes, you're not gonna see him. It's gonna be our mystery. Someday we'll unveil him, maybe after we do 100 episodes, and we're like, thank you to our video guy, right? And we'll reveal David. But so I'll repeat, this is just perfect. David is in college, again, not too much detail, but David, what's your biggest challenge?
Time management.
Okay. Pause on that. If you didn't hear, David said his biggest challenge is time management, and we could speak on that very quickly. I currently, by far, advise students on time management.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna go back to you, Sarah, before then I come back to me. How was your time management in college?
I would say after, the first semester, I think it improved, right?
Okay.
Because you kind of get in that groove, right?
Okay. Were you able to stick on?
Yeah, but I'm very rigid, so
Okay.
so I don't know. I'm pretty good at time management.
Yeah.
Everything, kind of just flows for me, but that's how I work best.
Okay.
And so I didn't. Yes, did I wait to the last minute on some things? Of course, right?
Okay.
Just because you have a lot of things that you're juggling.
Right.
But I really tried to stay. If I knew I had a test or a paper, I would prepare in advance. I wouldn't be cramming the night before.
Okay.
I don't do well staying up all night and then going taking a test.
Right.
Some people can do that.
Okay.
Just not me.
Okay. No, that's perfect, because time management, I know, is big, and I don't know if it's more so now for students with everything else.
Right.
I won't say I was good at managing my time. I just knew what my priorities were. Right. So, and everybody can attest to this, like, okay, I got to do my homework first. It's homework. I lived in the science building just to get it done. Was I managing the time right or wrong? I don't know, but I knew I had to do that first before everything else, came. So, yes.
But I think that's a great point, is that really knowing your priorities, right?
Correct.
Even in a working situation today, not just in college, right? People that, work for me, they always ask, what are my priorities? So if you can learn that early on, and even asking, a professor or whatever, an advisor, sometimes like, how can I prioritize better? That can be helpful.
That's great. So we're bouncing all over the place, but we'll get to that. I see David is moving around because he's trying to avoid the next question. David, what's your biggest fear?
In college?
Yes, right now. We're waiting on David. I'm saying we're waiting for David. I'm letting the audience know what's happening right now. Yeah.
Doing all of it and then not using it.
Wow. Kind of what we touched on last week
time.
with is college worth it. That's a good point. Yeah. I feel like we should unveil David quick to be here with us, right?
I know.
Okay. I'm going to get back to that. That's very good because the next step or the next thing I want us to talk is just talk about the challenges and the fears that students are having now.
Right.
But before we do that, going back to our challenges and our fears, how did you get help or how did you overcome that, if any, Sarah? What did you have people to talk to?
Yes, definitely. So I would say my family was a big support system. Good. And so even I put all the pressure on myself, kind of like what we talked about last time with being, self-motivated and driven, right? That pressure really is on yourself. And so even if I got a C, my parents didn't yell at me, right? Okay. They talked about how can we do better, right? So I think having that support system, whether it's family or a close group of friends that can really be that, support for you is tremendously helpful. Advisors, I think there's more available to students now, just given the world that we're in versus what we had. Yes, I had an advisor and I would talk about classes and things like that. But I think there are more tools and avenues available to kids today. So I would even say, do it all, right? It's really important to have someone in a group of people and to hear different opinions. I did utilize my professors, right? During office hours, I ended up, becoming close to people. And then even after, I had that class, going back to them, using them as a sounding board, even though it wasn't in my major, right? So really finding a network of people that can help you, but also lift you up.
Great. So I kind of want to close, we're not closing, I'm just saying that will be kind of my closing to how students can get all this help, but you're absolutely right with the advices. For the sake of time, let's get into some of the challenges that students are currently having. And David touched on that, so I'm not gonna dwell too much on that. It is time management, I think is right up there with the challenge. So far as the fears though, David mentioned his fear, which I think is great. Unfortunately, some of the fears that I'm hearing from students is actually safety on campus.
Right.
So we're gonna change this. This is gonna be a full 360 change here. I'm gonna try my best so we can avoid all the politics but we wake up in the morning as parents, praying, doing whatever we have to do, that our kids are going to school. Let's be honest, that they come back.
Exactly. It's completely different. We didn't worry about that. If you even I was just talking to someone yesterday and I said, we had tornado drills. We did not have active shooter drills, right? And, we had bomb threats, but that was because someone didn't want to take a test. It wasn't anything like that, right? So I think
ours is somebody pulling a fire extinguisher.
Right, but it's something similar, right? It wasn't that no one ever thought there was a bomb in the school. It was someone didn't want to take a math test or a chemistry test, whatever. And so it's a different world that these kids live in, which is sad, right? But to your point, there's different challenges that these children have to think about with safety. I didn't think about my safety one bit when I was at college. And I wasn't concerned that I was going to be attacked or anything.
That's good. Again, I'm trying, just like you did, good job, Sarah, not getting into all the politics and what we have to do currently. But David, are you concerned when you go to class? Is that on your mind that somebody's going to come do something? David say no, which I think is great because I honestly don't see how you're going to be going into the class trying to study with that on your mind. So if I hear students that say, you know what, I don't really think about it that much, I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, there are students that constantly, looking side to side, so, okay, there's got to be a whole segment on, campus safety. We'll get to that. But yeah, I know that's one of the big concerns. On the political side is, do we arm instructors?
Right.
I'm not for that. I don't think that's going to solve the problem. Again, I'm trying not to get too much into politics.
Right.
We'll get more into that. But for this segment, we're going to stick with the challenges and the fears, knowing what the fear are, and see what we could do. Sarah, you just started off by talking about your advices. Yes, things have changed. The advices, 100%, you're right on point. I was at an institution during my graduate studies. Again, we're doing our best not to mention our institutions here. But surprise, yes, maybe not. But they had over 200 advices.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yes, that's what I said too.
We didn't have that.
No. I mean, again, for us in my small school that I went to, college, we had house pops and house moms in the dorms that we stayed at, right? So everything, was going through them, even with academic questions. We go through them and they help us get to instructors. So now looking back, I'm like, do we really had advisors? Yes, I think some of my professors were kind of my advisors, but it was also a small, close niche, so everything, right? But now, yes, there's a lot of advisors. And very quickly, unfortunately, some of the students that I talk to don't want to go to the advisors. Just because also the advising process is that. Because when you go on to see, well, advice is good, counselors. Counselors is the challenge because students are like, well, when I go there, they have to take notes, they record everything I discuss with, I can't trust them. Whole different segment we talk about. But very quickly, for students, you got to find that one person. You got to find that advisor, right? I've always said, you think in college your best friend is your friend that is in your class for one semester, you don't see them again. Your instructor, the one that you pick to be the person that you go and talk to all the time, will be that one person, to help you out. So, how did we do today? I think we did pretty good.
I think we did.
You did
yeah,
good?
I think we did great.
Okay. One advice you will have for students' challenges and then fear, what would it be? I think you already touched on that.
Yeah, I really just think it is finding that network, whatever it is, but taking advantage of what the college, university has to offer, whether it is learning centers, office hours, whatever, is available to you, utilize it, right? You don't always have to go, but I think it helps you, especially during office hours. Think about that relationship you're developing with a professor. If you're in a huge class of hundreds of people, and then you're always in office hours, when they read your paper, they're going to hopefully remember that name, right? That you are trying and you are, making that effort. So I would say that's my biggest thing of my takeaway is really just utilize what you have.
Okay. Well, there we have it. I couldn't have said it any better. There are resources. I've always said the resources you all have right now, Sarah's already touched on that, we did not have, honestly. I'm just thinking back as to no Google to do research. Talking about resources, right?
I was thinking it was actually like I went in to add or drop classes, and I think that was my relationship with my advisor. So things have changed.
So much. So this week on the news is this chat, whatever it is that is writing papers for students. We'll get we'll get into all that. Right. But it's amazing resources. Use them. Your advisors, honestly, they are going to be your best friend in college. This is exciting. Every time, we sit down here to do this, I'm excited to share with you also. Once again, subscribe, share. I need to find a link for students to send us questions or feedback.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we could, they might pull us in different things to talk about, but always great, always a pleasure. Please do subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you for tuning to Let's Talk Ed. Thanks to our video guy, David, for his contribution today. And stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.